Last year, I discovered my husband was cheating on me with my own older sister. I found the messages and the photos. They both told me it was a mistake and a one-time thing. I cut contact with both of them, and now my sister is begging me to help with her kids because she's exhausted while my parents pressure me to forgive her for the children's sake. My sister sent me a message last Monday saying she was exhausted, that the kids were really demanding, asking if I could come over to help for even just a few hours. I read it. I read it again, and I archived it without replying. Because a year ago I discovered that my sister and my husband were betraying me. And because the person saying she's exhausted from caring for her children is the same person who shattered my life without me having done anything to her. Anything at all. My name is Renata. I'm 34 years old. I was married for 4 years to a man named Sebastian whom I loved genuinely, with the kind of quiet, steady love you build over time, with trust, with shared history. My older sister's name is Camila. She's 38. We were always different, she and I, but we were family. We loved each other. We called each other. We told each other things. I had known her children almost since they were born. I was there for her second birth. I was the godmother of her oldest daughter. We were real family, or so I believed. I discovered it on a Sunday in October. Sebastian had fallen asleep with his phone in his hand and the screen unlocked. I walked past with no intention, saw it open, and saw my sister's name with a message that was not the kind of message you send to your husband's sister-in-law. I stopped. I picked up the phone. I opened the conversation, and there it all was. Months of messages. Photographs I'm not going to describe because I don't need to, and because even remembering them sends something rising up through my chest that still has no name. Plans. Dates. Conversations that mixed the ordinary with what they were doing in a way I found even more disturbing than if it had been just one thing or just the other. What I remember most from that moment is not the emotional blow, even though the blow was brutal. What I remember most is the silence. A total, absolute silence, as if the entire world had stopped to let me process what I was seeing. I set the phone back where it was. I went to the bathroom. I sat down on the floor, and I stayed there for a stretch of time I couldn't measure. When Sebastian woke up, I was already in the kitchen, sitting at the table, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that had gone cold. He asked me what was wrong. I told him I'd seen his phone. There was a second of silence that lasted longer than all the silences in our life together up to that point. And then came what always comes in these situations. Denial first, then minimization, then a partial confession, then the tears, then the word mistake spoken, as if that word were capable of containing what he had done. A mistake. Months of messages, of photos, of plans, of specific dates on which both of them had actively decided to betray me, and he was calling a mistake. I asked him to leave the house that same day. He left. Camila called me that same night. I don't know how she found out so quickly. It doesn't matter how. What matters is what she said when she called. She cried. She cried a great deal, with the kind of crying that seems genuine until you realize that everything in the conversation is centered on how she feels, on how much what she did weighs on her, on it being just the one time, on it meaning nothing, on her asking me to understand. Just a one time. The months of messages I saw on Sebastian's phone were not just the one time. I told her I didn't want to talk, that I needed time, that she shouldn't call again. I hung up, and that was the last real conversation we had. The divorce from Sebastian was legally straightforward. We had no children. The shared assets were divided without major complications. My attorney was efficient, and the process took less time than I expected. The hardest part was not the divorce. The hardest part was the year that followed. Because when you cut contact with your sister, you're not only cutting with her. You're cutting with a part of your family that doesn't have to choose between the two of you, but that inevitably takes a position through its actions. Who they call, who they spend the holidays with, who they talk about you to when you're not there. My parents took it badly. They asked me to come to family gatherings where Camila would also be. They asked me to move past it. They asked me to think about the kids, about my nieces and nephews, about how none of this was their fault. And they're right about that part. The kids are not at fault. They are innocent, and I love them, and that hasn't changed. But loving her children doesn't mean I have an obligation to make life easier for the person who betrayed me. Camila's message last Monday wasn't the first. It was the 5th or 6th in recent months, always with variations on the same theme. She's exhausted. The kids are difficult. Their father doesn't help enough. She needs support. And it always ends the same way. Can you come help me? Me. Asking me for help. The person who betrayed me alongside the man I loved is asking me to come take care of her children because she is exhausted. My parents called this week too. They told me Camila is going through a very hard time, that the kids need her to be stable, that maybe it's time for me to talk to her, to process it, to think about the family as a whole. My mother told me that holding on to bitterness only hurts me. What I did tell her was that not holding on to bitterness doesn't mean pretending what happened didn't happen. It doesn't mean erasing what I saw. It doesn't mean I have to be available to the person who hurt me just because she now needs something from me. Forgiveness, if it comes, is for me. It is not a service I provide to her. I didn't respond to the message. I'm not going to respond to it. And if that makes me the difficult sister, the one who doesn't forgive, the one who doesn't think about the children, so be it. Because what no one in my family seems willing to acknowledge is that I am also someone. Not just an available resource when the situation calls for it. Not just the sister who figures things out on her own, the strong one, the one who can handle everything. I am someone who was betrayed in the most personal way possible by the two people I trusted most, and who has every right in the world to take whatever time she needs to decide what place, if any, she wants to give those people in her life. That time is mine. No one can take it from me, and I'm not going to give it away to someone who didn't deserve it. If this story hit somewhere deep, comment. Would you respond or stay silent? Like if you believe forgiveness is yours and not an obligation. Subscribe for more real stories. Share with someone going through something similar who needs to know their boundaries are valid. Advice. Forgiveness is not something you do for the person who hurt you. It is something you do for yourself when you are ready. No one has the right to give you a deadline for healing, and loving someone's children does not obligate you to support the well-being of the person who betrayed you.